up, keep your head up, and then cheer up. Happens in the front, the boys in the back, I won't clear up. MC's in my back, I was steadily proud. Heavy D's in effect. We go bounce to the out.
Heavy D.
Rest in peace. I heard he had a really, really beautiful funeral. A lot of celebrities there. Very nice. I heard they streamed it on his website, but I didn't see.
Okay.
Last week at the Soul Train Awards, we asked a lot of the people we interviewed about him, and everyone said the same thing about him. Positive.
Coolest dude in the world,
his
man.
vibe was just so welcoming and just not an ounce of negativity in him.
Yeah, we got to talk about that when we come back
sure.
from the break, the Soul Train.
For sure.
Reach Around Radio.
We're back. It's your boy, Speedy in the house. Just want to say what's happening.
I'm the poetess.
It's your girl, Claudia Jordan.
TDP, Mr. 123 Knox, baby.
And I know a lot of times we...
Oh, wow.
That's okay. Skip me again. That's
Reverse discrimination day.
That's okay.
I don't like you anyway.
Wow.
I'm just kidding.
Colonizer.
I love
Did you say...
No, that's okay. I don't need to. No, that's okay.
I'm just kidding, RT.
Yeah.
We have a lot of jokes on the show, and although we have a lot of jokes, sometimes we open up the mics to address more serious issues. And this is a story that I've been following for a couple years now about a young woman named Sarah Cruzan, who at the age of 16 killed her pimp/abuser and has been in prison for the past 16 years. And we have her aunt, Miss Ann Rogan, as well as her friend Kim Deanne here to tell us a little more about what's going on with Sarah Cruzan. Am I saying the name right, Cruzan?
Yes, Cruzan.
Okay, can you give our listeners a brief story about what happened to your niece, Sarah?
Well, it all started when Sarah was, it all started from the time she was born, because Sarah was physically, emotionally, and sexually abused basically since birth. Starting from the age of 5 when her mother's boyfriend abused her, and then we move up to the age of 11 when her mother introduced Gigi into the household, and he started molesting her at age 11, and then at age 13 he put her out on the street.
And so how did the situation end up where she ended up murdering this man, Gigi, who was a pimp?
Right. Gigi, when Gigi met Sarah, he was around 33 years old, I believe. And so when Sarah was 13, well, first of all, he, as they do, they groom the young girls, especially if there's no family figure around to stop it. And Sarah's mother wasn't about stopping it, and her dad wasn't around. He was in and out of prison.
Was her mother a prostitute?
No, not that I'm aware of. However, there were always men in and around the house. I was in and out of Sarah's life because of the way their lifestyle was, moving around. And when I would come to pick Sarah up for an outing, there would be a different guy there who was going to be, quote unquote, Sarah's new dad. So it just became like a revolving door.
So how did it escalate to her murdering this guy? And why do you guys feel that she should be released after 16 years?
Well, first of all, Sarah was a victim of sex trafficking. She was a child, started at age 11. Groomed and abused, sexually, physically beaten by this man. At age 16, 2 months past her 16th birthday, they went to this motel room in Riverside, and apparently he was in the process of initiating sex with Sarah, which was something that she just didn't want to do. Apparently, and I'm just going by what it says in the report, he pulled out this sex toy and was going to use it on her, and then she shot her.
Did she ever, like, since this has been happening, since you said it's from the beginning, since birth, did any other family members notice this, or did she ever complain about anything, or was it just like no one believed her?
You know, the thing about what I understand, and I'm certainly not an expert about children that are abused, if they have that, even though if they only have one parent, that's who they cling to, even if that parent is emotionally, physically abusive. Mm-hmm. So they don't want to go against that one parent. Mm-hmm. So I remember when shortly after I came down to pick Sarah up for an outing, and I, get out of my car, and Sarah's mother introduced me to Gigi and said he was a family friend. And I'll never forget, I think it was like a few weeks later, Sarah called me all excited. Now, understand, she's an 11-year-old child, no father figure around. And she was excited because Gigi had given her a gold chain. So I said, let me talk to your mother, because, that's not appropriate for a 30-something-year-old man to give an 11-year-old girl a gold chain. Mm-hmm. And when I got on the phone with her mother, she basically, in so many words, said, well, it's none of your business.
So do you feel like all the pressures of her childhood and the abuse all escalated to her shooting Gigi? Or because in some reports it said her boyfriend put her up to the act.
Well, if you read what's written, there apparently was another guy who was envious of Gigi and wanted him out of the picture for whatever reason, to take over Gigi's whatever stable or whatever they call it. And so this other guy had told Sarah, well, if you don't do this, I'm going to kill you, your mother, and this other boy that she liked. Mm-hmm. And that's stated in the court papers. When Sarah went to trial, she was the only person who testified.
Wow. So no witnesses, no character witnesses. Where were you guys to testify? Well,
the interesting thing about that is I called Sarah's attorney and I said, my husband and I have a business trip we need to go to, a pre-planned trip. I said, we're going to be gone for about 3 days. And so the attorney and we felt that the trial would still be going on. When we got back from our trip, the trial was over. This was a murder trial that lasted, 2 days, 2 to 3 days?
Wow. So that's very short.
Was there a lot of guilt with the family, like feeling like I should have realized something was going on? Was there any of that? Did the family feel like...
Oh, there was a lot of that. I mean, I can say for myself, first of all, you have to understand this was 1994. Mm-hmm. The term sex trafficking wasn't even in our vocabulary, and Kim can elaborate that. I mean, Kim has been fighting this fight a long time.
Yes, ma'am.
Could you explain what sex trafficking is and what's the difference between sex trafficking and prostitution?
Well, at the time, when I first realized this case, people were referring to Sarah and her case as being a child prostitute. And first of all, a child does not consent to being put on the street. Right. So therefore, if we look at today, 2011, as it relates to human trafficking is basically when someone is illegally sexually exploited or put to be a slave or even a work slave. So this term was not used in 1994 at all. And I think that if she would have been tried today, that definitely would have been admissible in court. I think that intimate partner battering would have also been admissible in court. It's just certain things that we didn't have then that we do now. Certain things that take place in our day and time now. We just didn't have it in 1994.
So, what can we do to help her and help the situation? What can our listeners do?
Yeah. Or where can people find out more information? Because from what we understand is that she had life in prison without parole at first.
Exactly.
And then Arnold Schwarzenegger, when he was the governor, he went in and granted clemency. Now it's life with the possibility of parole.
Exactly. He basically commuted her sentence. So a lot of people thought that he had let her out with the other two gentlemen that he did eventually let out. But her sentence was dropped from life without parole to life with parole. So that's by no means acceptable in our world, although we're thankful for that opportunity because she didn't have a chance at all at first. So now we're pushing for time served with Governor Brown. With that being said, we have petitions out there. I have a petition on change.org. People can visit my website, www.freesarahcruzan.org.
And that's Kruzan.
Correct.
She's been in for 16 years, right?
17.
17 years?
Yeah. She went in at 16 and now she's 34.
It's just amazing to me, the inconsistencies, because there's murderers that haven't been sexually abused by their victims, so to say, that get out in 6-7 years or less.
Exactly.
Especially if you're a BART officer and you kill a black man.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And this is something that, if they consider all the variables in the case, life seems a bit much.
Even in 1994, if you look at a lot of cases, people weren't even sentenced this long. Right. You had people who were convicted of murders and were let out. Like you said, 6-7 years down the line, they're walking free. And now they're in again because they committed murder again.
Where is her head at right now? What is I'm sure you guys communicate with her regularly. What's her attitude? What's she like at 32, 33?
She's 33, I believe now. Now she has an amazing attitude considering the fact that she was 16 when she went in. She has done a lot to work on herself in prison, which is a very difficult and challenging thing to do because oftentimes prison isn't about rehabilitating anyone.
No.
It's a business.
Right. And she has been able to, she's gone through counseling. She has, she's in the honor dorm, which is a big thing in prison.
So she has good behavior and...
Yes.
Okay.
When is she actually up for parole, did they say?
We don't know. That's
I read it was like 6 or 7 years from now, or
about
is that
7. I think it's about 7, but she can apply for parole in maybe 3 or 4 years, and then.
Let me ask you this. Did they, at the trial, did they present her as like a hardened criminal? Because
why did they try her as an adult as opposed to a minor? I'm sorry.
That's an interesting question. I'd like to know that myself because she should not have been tried as an adult, especially since California Youth Authority said at the time she was amenable to treatment. So yes, I'd like to know why Riverside County decided to try her as an adult when CYA said she was amenable to treatment.
I was wondering because it says that they said she stole money from the victim, whatever. So I was wondering if they try to, portray her as like this hardened criminal, like a menace to society. Because there was a case, I just looked at this other case recently. A father, his son was molested. And so the man was being taken out of handcuffs and the father just rolled up on him and blasted him and got no time. He got, I think, a 4-year suspend. He didn't serve any time. The judge didn't give him any time. So this seems like kind of along the same lines, you know what I mean, victim of sexual abuse and like vigilantism.
Right. Even Arnold Schwarzenegger, our past governor, said that her sentencing in his response to her clemency petition, that her sentencing was excessive.
So why didn't he just grant her full clemency and let her out if he felt that?
I would like to know that also.
I think he was busy having sex with his maid.
So we have to wrap. So can you tell us again if there's anything that you want to let the public know, how they could help you, how they can find out more about Sarah Cruzan?
Really, we just want people to understand that this was a child that this happened to at the time. Don't get it confused that you see her face. This is a 34-year-old woman. This was a child, and the system failed her when she was a child. They're still failing her as an adult. It's time that she be released, and we need people to help fight for her freedom. Again, people can visit www.freesarahcruzan.org. They can participate in signing the petition, which every time someone signs the petition, the governor gets an email directly each and every time.
The system failed her, but her mother failed her.
Oh, absolutely.
And the mother should be accountable for something. She that's child endangerment, don't you think?
Well, her mom was
of
addicted.
course. Of
Oh,
course,
yeah.
and if you look at her writ of habeas corpus that was filed, several times Riverside County Department of Children's Services, they were involved, but they did very little to stop what was happening to her.
The mother got convicted. She,
No, they won't convict
They just
parents.
never stepped in. They took
They
her out.
never
She was
stepped
in
in.
and out of treatment.
great parenting.
Yeah.
Mm.
Mental institutions.
Sorry, I'm
No
hating
one
on her.
stepped
I
in.
think that's awful what you did. I put a lot of the blame on, most of the blame on her. So
Yeah.
Yeah, but their system won't let you blame parents because otherwise you'll be blaming every parent for everything.
no, I just mean
Even
morally,
though
not legally.
They should step up.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm father of 8. and
Well, if
I'm-
you place your
I'm
child in
there
a dangerous
24/7.
situation, you're bringing a pimp
Yes,
into
you
your
are.
house, and you
Well,
let your daughter.
Riverside is very one-sided. You got to understand how Riverside get down.
Who lets an 11-year-old hang with a 30-something-year-old or with an adult? I mean, if an 18-year-old guy has sex with an 11-year-old, that's statutory rape. But okay, whatever.
But once the system knew, once they were aware, that I feel like they should have stopped it.
Mhm.
Since the parent did not do what she was supposed to do, which was protect her child, they should have stopped it, and they didn't. Repeatedly.
If it was a white daughter, they would have been snatched out of that home immediately and put in foster care. I think.
Could you guys say what prison she's in?
She's at Chowchilla State Prison, which is the largest prison for women in the United States, I believe. It's very large and overcrowded, but it's Chowchilla State Prison.
Okay. We'd like to thank you guys for joining
you.
us
I'd
and,
like to
Thank you
thank
for
and
you
having
sharing
so
this
much.
Thank you.
information. And we'll continue to post the link
on our
to
blog?
the for the petition. And we wish you all the best. And please stay in touch with us and let us know how far you got with the governor. That would be great.
We will. And
Thank
just
you.
remember her name and tell everyone about her story.
Okay. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank
It's
you.
Reach Around Radio. We're
Happy
going to
holidays.
take a quick break and we'll be back.